let's talk about a few news stories. So Safeway is apparently concerned about theft at the self-service kiosks, which I think is an issue everywhere. And so they're putting these things where you have to scan your receipt to get out, which seems to work pretty well. BART is also concerned about fare jumpers, which I know it's a huge issue. I don't know. I've been here a long time. BART used to be very nice. It used to be much better than most subways. It used to be clean and safe, but now there's a whole bunch of crazy homeless people that just live on BART and run around scaring people and make it sort of messy and awful. And so their plan is to replace the fare gates with fare gates that are harder to jump over, like tall ones or something. So we'll see if that works. We'll see what happens. As we know, the homeless people are a huge problem for all of us here. There's so many of them, and the resources don't seem to do any good. And what I've heard from the homeless advocates is that the reason you find them everywhere, like in streets and everything, is because the homeless shelters are very unsafe. They don't police them, so the other crazy homeless people attack them and steal their stuff. So they're better off sleeping in a random doorway than going to the official shelter. So it's a problem. If you're going to provide a shelter, you have to actually also make it a safe shelter, and apparently that has not been happening. So COVID's out there. I got COVID at DEF CON, or more likely B-sides before it, so you can definitely get COVID, so it's a good thing to be aware of that. I tested negative, that's why I was able to come back to face-to-face teaching, but for about a week I was online only because I had COVID. So at least now Paxlovid really works. That's the drug they give you, and that stuff really works. I've twice had COVID, I've twice had Paxlovid, and it clears it right up, like a miracle. So it's, what's that? Paxlovid. It is the recommended drug. What it actually is sort of a leftover repurposed AIDS medication. But the fact is it's an antiviral, and it really works. You just take these pills for 5 days, and it clears up COVID. And Kaiser will give it to you. If you have Kaiser, all you have to do is fill out a form. And if you have any risk factors like being over 50 or diabetic or fat, they'll give it to you. If you're younger than that, they won't give it to you because you're not at high risk. Anyway, it's I find it to be very good. Made me feel better right away, and within 5 days it was all done, and I'm testing negative, so that was good. Hey there, good. All right, so Putin's chef appears to be dead, or it's all fake, and he has faked his death. But most people say it's probably he really is dead. When he rebelled against Putin, everybody, including President Biden, said, don't fire your food taster, don't stand near any open windows. I mean, anybody that crosses Putin doesn't live long. And Putin does like to do things on your anniversary. And this is exactly 2 months from his rebellion, and suddenly they shoot his plane out of the sky. And on top of that, on the official news channels, they have all these official videos of watching the plane crash, which normally they wouldn't have or publish. So it's all a message to everybody else, don't mess with Putin. That's what everyone's interpreting it as. The risky biz news, this is actually quite important for most of my classes. There was a discussion of this, I think, just yesterday in class. Students asked me, are there Trojans in the equipment you buy? They were talking about the ban of Chinese equipment. I mean, people are trying to ban TikTok, and they've already banned Huawei equipment, and what they've said is, in the first place, it might have security flaws, but more than that, it might have deliberate security secret features that it's not supposed to have. And I said, people have talked about, they're called hardware Trojans, and this is in fact one reason why I really don't trust Bloomberg News. About 5 years ago, Bloomberg News published a bombshell article claiming that there were secret chips in iPhones and Cisco routers put there by the Chinese government that were spying on everything. And they claimed to have proof of this, and immediately Apple and Cisco said, this is not true, we've checked, there's no evidence of this, and they never had any evidence, and it all came from one reporter who had had the crazy stories like this before. It was just sort of a reporter that makes up stuff. And Bloomberg said, we're going to have an internal investigation to get to the bottom of it. And they just never did that and never had any results. But it just vanished after a few weeks. But it was an amazing report, and it seemed to be completely a lie. And I watched Bloomberg has been pushing anti-China hysteria for years. Always China is evil, we need to go to war with China. That's the thing they're pushing for, I think, some political reason. But anyway, this is the first case I've seen where it apparently is true. In South Korea, they have claimed that the Chinese weather measuring chips do have a spy chip in them, a hardware Trojan. So I don't know if this is true, but if it is true, it's the first time they've proven this really happened. And that's why if China is actually doing that, then that's a pretty good reason not to use their stuff. Up till now, a lot of people are sort of upset in America, like saying, why should we ban TikTok when China hasn't done anything bad with TikTok yet? And they say, well, they could do something bad. I say, well, if you're going to ban everything because it might be bad, that's going to be hard to ever accept anything. You'd think you would have to have some proof that they've done something bad with it first. And anyway, I don't think that TikTok ban is going to happen because Congress is completely tied up on culture war issues like picking on trans people and Hunter Biden and stuff. But anyway, this is quite interesting. The real report that they've actually found hardware Trojans. By the way, one place where we know this happens is the NSA. This was one of Snowden's revelations in 2013 we were talking about last week, is that the NSA, if you ordered like a router or something and they wanted to spy on you, they would intercept the package at UPS, open it, put extra chips in there, and then ship it to you, so they'd be spying on what you do. So I mean, it totally can be done and has often been done in an individual targeted basis. But just manufacturing a whole product line with spy chips in it is something that's never been proven. And I don't know if that's what happened here. It might be an individual targeted espionage activity. Maybe we may learn more about that, but on the other hand, any kind of military operation like that, all you're ever probably going to hear are the cover stories. The real truth, it will probably never come out. So the Turing test was simple. You would have a 5-minute conversation with text online with a human and a machine, and he said if a machine can pass for human, then we're going to say it's got human level intelligence. And people have now abandoned this because there was a philosopher in the 90s that wrote this up. And in fact, what he did was he said, suppose you don't speak any Chinese and somebody's slipping pieces of paper onto the door in Chinese, and you just have a book and you look up an appropriate answer. And they actually did that with a real human. They didn't know Chinese. He was able to look it up in a book and answer as well as a human. And they said, therefore, even though that book is not intelligent at all, you can simulate human intelligence. And that appears to be the case. And modern machine learning systems like ChatGPT can totally pass the Turing test. In fact, they can solve most CAPTCHAs better than humans. So the whole idea of having a little puzzle to tell if you're a human or a robot is probably over. The robots are better than humans at solving those now. So we'll see what happens. Now, those CAPTCHAs serve an important purpose in the world of security. They stop you from making many requests. Like you might write a script that will try thousands of login passwords, but if you have to fill in a CAPTCHA each time, that's intended to make sure a human actually typed it in each time. But in practice, it's not so effective. Anyway, so academic journals and everything else has AI-generated stuff, and now they're finding a real published paper in Business Policy, an academic journal under Elsevier, which is the main expensive one, had a article, and in the middle of the article it says, please note that as an AI language model, I am unable to generate specific tables or conduct tests, and as you know, if you use ChatGPT, when you ask it things, it will very often say that. As an AI model, I can't do this, I can't do that. So they were just copying and pasting without even removing the obvious marks that it was AI. And this is relevant to this class. I mentioned you have to write papers in this class, and if you want to use an AI tool to help you, you can, but you have to explain that you did that and explain how you cleaned it up, because the tools do produce crappy results. You will have to clean it up and verify it. They lie and they make up stuff, so you can't trust what they produce. However, I think we should all be learning to use them for what good they are. All right. And Microsoft Paint is going to have AI. Why, I don't know. I'm just waiting for them to put it in Notepad. I mean, so you can type text and it will automatically generate image to match your text. Like, I don't know why, but this is now the buzzword. They put AI in everything. Just like before this, it was the Internet of Things, and they would connect everything to the world. Like there's a news story a few days ago that the smart light bulbs are getting hacked into. Why does anybody have smart light bulbs anyway? Apparently they do. Just everything is connected to the Internet, and now everything has to have AI on it. It's the latest craze. So this Brian Krebs is extremely valuable fellow to know. He's a multiple award-winning cybersecurity journalist, and you can follow him on Mastodon. You should all be on Mastodon, by the way. If you go to samsclass.info, where all my classes are, this is my Mastodon feed, and at the bottom there's a link to join Mastodon. This is the replacement for Twitter. Twitter became useless for the information security community and pretty much everybody else except the Nazis about 9 months ago. And the whole information security community moved to this one server at Mastodon called infosec.exchange. If you want to be in the business, it's a good idea to have an account there and start following important people And one important guy is Krebs on security. He's a very good journalist, and so here he points out how if you go to a city, you can tell who the tourists are because they're looking around at stuff that the natives don't look at. And he said you could do the same thing with networks. People who are hacking into a network run a bunch of tools to list all the processes, find all the shares, and so on that a normal user wouldn't use. So he said you can just look for behavior that is indicating that they are an attacker and not a normal user, which is a pretty good idea. And I'm not aware of endpoint detection products that do that right now, although they should. So anyway, that's enough news. Let me stop this one.